6 months before I left my big law job, I had a moment. I had just made partner, and I remember sitting in my office. It's a nice building. It was a nice office. Looking around me and looking up at the ceiling and being like, "Is this it? Is this
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted?" I was journaling on a daily basis to God to just reconnect and like, I'm scared. I'm nervous. What do I do? Show me the path. Show me the way. I'm surrendering to you. And then things just started to kind of unravel and to unfold.
Hi, I'm Allie Canton, and this is Practically on Purpose. It's a podcast for all the people who've done all the right things and are now looking to build a life of deeper meaning and purpose. I'm joined today by my friend Laurice Rutledge Lambert. After years in big law and leadership roles as general counsel, Laurice made the bold decision to step away from traditional success metrics and build a firm aligned health law rooted in humility, authenticity, and gratitude. Her story offers a powerful example of how we can marry our profession with our values and in the process redefine leadership, not by striving harder, but by aligning more deeply with what matters most. Laurice, thank you so much for coming on today. After years in big law and leadership positions as general counsel, it seems you've really set out for the past few years on your own to try doing something brand new in the innovative, yet also, I would say, kind of antiquated area of healthcare. It's kind of interesting that it spans both this industry where they're single-handedly keeping the fax machine business in business. And yet we're also seeing all these new actors try to change things, try to do something brand new. And it seems that you are bringing a brand new approach to health law advising, which I'm so excited to talk about. For our listeners, I think I'll tell a little funny story. So Laurice and I first met years ago when our clients at the time were involved in a dispute. I never in a million years could have imagined that a nastygram would actually be the seed of a friendship, but I am so grateful for that seed. I'm reading Ina Garten's memoir, Ready When the Luck Happens, and one of the things that she says all the time is, we don't know our bad breaks from our good ones. So at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. And I was interviewing counsel, and I actually ended up speaking to one of your former colleagues, and he declined to help, but he said, Laurice is a really good egg. Trust me on this. And he he was absolutely right. So it's been really exciting over these years to get to know you. I feel like we are on such parallel paths. And I'm really excited for you to be here today. So just to kick it off, for those who don't know you, how do you describe what you do beyond the big flashy titles?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. Well, thank you for having me, Allison. I'm thrilled to be here, and appreciate this opportunity, and feel like it's coming on a good day because, I think I could close my eyes and be like, wow, like what I envisioned 2.5 years ago has really come to fruition. But in any given day, I'm always questioning, am I doing enough? Is this, and trying to replace any seeds of doubt that might still be there from historical upbringings and things like that. So, I think this is my tagline, and it's hard for me to say it, but I am a leader that people want to follow. And that is something that I'm really leaning into. I think at my core, I'm a coach, I'm a leader, I'm somebody that wants to build other people up, who is going to take a hit for the team because that's what I think needs to be done. To ensure that like the people that have chosen to commit to me and are in this group feel protected and safe, and that they know that they're a part of something. So I'd say more than anything, what I want to be is like a leader or a mentor, and somebody who can help people develop and become their best self. And I think you and I have talked about this. I'm passionate about healthcare, always have been since I was young. Wanted to go to medical school and didn't. At the end of the day, I think I landed in the right place with law. But one of the things that you know I really want to do is inspire other people to bet on themselves. For a long time, I bet on other people and didn't some of the bets were really good ones, but I didn't want my destiny to be in the hands of anybody else anymore. And I kind of came to that realization coming up on about 3 years ago now, which is
Mm.
kind of crazy. It's not been an easy, I would say, about total 4 years since I left my big law job and kind of fast forward through a couple different things to get to today. I'm super happy with where I am, but it's not easy to run a business. It's not easy to run a services business, but I don't want to go practice law anywhere else. Just there's always going to be a little bit of doubt here and there, even though I know that the company will succeed because we are values based and trying to do something different for both healthcare and law.
Well, first off, I'm just like nodding and smiling because I feel that the model of leadership that you're describing here, it's so different from, I think, that what we typically saw as models of leadership in big law. Now, there's definitely some wonderful big law partners out there, but it's an industry that is, known for some screaming and yelling and sometimes throwing shit at people. There are partners out there who use fear
Yes.
as a motivation tactic. So, for all the folks that are working with you at Aligned Health Law, it's just amazing that you're offering a different model. Because the thing is, they say hurt
Yes.
people, right? So those partners who are yelling, like they were
Yeah,
yelled at, and it just sort
that's
of
right.
perpetuates and
That's right.
perpetuates.
That's right.
And we don't need that anymore. We don't need
No,
that.
and one of the reasons I left, this is a little bit of a full circle moment. I think it's worth me sharing. So one of the reasons I left at the end was like there was somebody who I did was an excellent, excellent attorney and who was probably about 20 years my senior. But, there was an opportunity for me to step up and lead. And I don't think that person was really ready for that. And so as a result, there was a few points when I was going to that person looking for some type of support, advice, counsel, having my back. And instead, it was turned around against me as like, well, because I think that person felt like they were getting pushed out a little bit. And that
Mm,
like, well, that the new people are only coming to you because you're going to tell them what they want to hear. And that was really painful because I was like,
wow.
I know that's not what this person thinks of me. I don't think, I know the client doesn't think that of me and I don't think that of me. But at the time, that was kind of the last thing I needed to hear when I was at the juncture of like, do I leave or do I stay? And in a full circle sense of the word, though, about 7, 8 months ago, I was in a pretty challenging situation with the client. We had co-counsel involved. And co-counsel was somebody probably also 20 years my senior who had lived through some pretty heavy, like got sued for the advice he gave, even though arguably now wouldn't have gotten sued, like lived
Wow.
through some things, DOJ investigation, all that stuff. And he was a really great person to have in this matter. And I reached out to my former person I used to work with. I said, listen, I just want you to know, like, I'm working with so and so. And it reminded me, I appreciate all the things you taught me. I appreciate what you bring to the table. Like, there is something to be said for experience, right? There's something to be said for like somebody 20 years your senior who have lived through a lot of stuff. Um, and I thanked her for that. And I started a different firm and then restarted again earlier this year under Aligned. And I'm super happy to have done that, but it wasn't an easy decision and it wasn't without its own pain and hardship. And that person reached out to me, after we announced and just really congratulated me. And it meant a lot because it felt truly like a full circle moment where maybe that person was a little bit of the reason why I left in the first place, but in the end seemed to be very supportive of where I had landed. And that did mean a lot. Sometimes it's those things from the people that maybe you're not actively seeking their approval, but maybe there's something inside where you're like, well, that means even more than other people because of the history there. So
Yeah. And it's shocking just to, knowing you and, you've advised some of my friends, you've advised company that I am invested in or folks that I know. So just to hear someone say or suggest that you would give your clients the advice that they want to hear is just shocking. Because having been in the room where it happens, I know that you are very comfortable delivering difficult news with empathy and with a creative problem solving mindset. So it just seems that, that person, may they be well, was in a scarcity mindset.
scarcity mindset, and to your point, hurt people. And
Hmm.
now I can see that for what it is. But there's been a journey that I've been on where 4 years ago I couldn't see that for what it was. And it just hurt. But now I can understand where words like that or things like that, to your point, like where that comes from. Um, for what that's worth.
Yeah. So let's get to your decision to start Aligned Health Law and what that path looked like for you. When did the idea first come to you that you felt like there was a need for something different in the market, not just in terms of how meeting a client need, but
Yeah.
actually in terms of how you're practicing law altogether?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Funny enough, I went back to like my journals from the time. So I had left. I did big law for almost 12 years as a partner at AM Law 100 firm, and I thought it was like big law or bust. I didn't think there was any other path. By the time I left, I was just frustrated and angry. It was coming out of COVID. Things really changed and hit the fan during COVID. I had my third child during COVID, and it was never that I couldn't cut it. In fact, I work more hours now than I ever had before, and still have three children. And so it wasn't that I couldn't handle it. I think I could hack it pretty well, but I just felt so angry and frustrated that like I was not being valued for what I brought to the table. And I felt so powerless to be valued in that way. Like I didn't know what else I could possibly do to get them to, compensate me how I thought I deserved, to give me the leadership roles that I thought I deserved. All of a sudden, this opportunity to go be general counsel kind of literally fell in my lap. And I knew in the instance that it was presented to me that like I had to take the job.
Mm.
It was scary and there was a lot of fear. And now I can recognize that it was fear that was freaking me out. And I was going in circles and staying up at night and losing weight and all that. But
Mm.
I didn't see that then. Again, I've done a lot of work and personally and spiritually since then. But so I took that job and it was the best thing I ever did. An amazing company, great people, and so many things. But a couple months in, I found out we were going to sell that company. And that was pretty scary as well because I'd left this partnership and now we're selling this company. And I didn't,
Right. Yeah.
equity was invested. And like I didn't actually have the protections I needed because I was told I couldn't negotiate those things. Live and learn. It all did work out in the end, but that was scary. And so I'd say, looking back, I would say almost at this point, 3.5 years ago is actually when I had the idea because I went back to my journals and like my thoughts about being entrepreneurial, being my own business owner, pulling together a team of people that were like the best of the best that treated each other the right way. Those notes were in my journal and I was kind of a little surprised because I didn't remember, I think when I was doing that writing, I didn't remember that.
Hmm.
But I would say it really came to fruition. I would say post that sale of that company and me deciding to move on from that role, late fall of 22 is when I kind of decided that like when I was in house, there wasn't a boutique healthcare firm that I could use for what my needs. And so I did a lot of that work myself because I had the
Mm-hmm.
training. But there were corporate firms and there were employment firms, and there were litigation firms. But I couldn't find anybody to do my healthcare work at a different price point. And I was like, there's got to be a different way. Seems like there's a need. If I had a need, there's got to be a need in the market for this. And so that's when the idea kept coming to me. And then I had every reason not to do it. Well, how am I going to do marketing? How am I going to do a website? I can't do any of these things. So I can't do
Yeah.
so all the fear-based things. And then it was literally an amazing woman by the name of Karma. Truly, her name was Karma.
No way. I love that. The universe has a sense of humor for sure.
But Karma and I are still in touch and we've made referrals to one another. She connected me with somebody. And then that one conversation that I had with this other person that she connected me with was like the conversation. I remember it. It was like right before Thanksgiving in 22. It was like a Friday afternoon. And I had this conversation and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing it. I'm just going to give it a try. I'm going to start this law firm. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if I'm going to make fun. I don't know if I'm going to make any money, but I'm going to at least try. Because what I had done during that time from exiting the company where I had my general counsel role to starting this business was be uncomfortable, cry, journal, pray, interview, and just felt like a lost. And I really just kind of at some point along the line just kind of gave up to like, what is it my values want? And I wanted independence, autonomy, freedom. And those were just not lining up with me being employed by somebody else. Whether it didn't matter if I was the CEO or not, if I was reporting to a board or something else, and like I was going to be controlled by somebody else. And that was no longer what I wanted. I wanted it done on myself. So that's how I got there. It wasn't easy. And I tell this story oftentimes, when I rolled out of this company and then I decided to start this business, and I skip over what I would call a very dark night of the soul, where I spent a lot of time, really uncomfortable trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your candor, because I do think, we all listen to the podcasts and the stories, the how I built this type narrative. And very often people are like, I had this idea and then I just went for it. And we just imagine, right, that it's like unicorns and butterflies and, superhero type confidence. But the reality before, especially a lot of us are conditioned around fear. That's normal, right? Fear is a self-preservation tactic or a signal. We're not going to get eaten by a lion anymore. So now it becomes about things like stepping into our first senior executive leadership role, or, going out there and becoming an entrepreneur. And I think that the dark night of the soul is an important part of the process. There probably are people out there, right, who are like, oh yeah, I have this idea and then tomorrow I'm just going to go do it. But for so many of us, there are these voices in our head, these programs in our head that are saying, no, you can't.
That's
You're
right.
going to fail.
You're going to fail.
No one wants this,
You're
or
going to be
whatever,
poor.
whatever your narrative is.
Absolutely. I
And
had my
we have to
limiting belief.
confront them, right?
Oh, yeah.
You said you were working through a coach, you were
Yeah.
journaling,
Mhm.
you're crying. Is there any one or two practices or experiences that you had that you found were really transformational in unwinding some of the conditioning and messaging that you'd previously internalized?
Yeah, there was two things really. One was like limiting beliefs. So all the things you just said, the fear programming, it all comes from somewhere, right? And so it comes from whether it's growing up in scarcity, or a lot of mine came just from like the way I grew up, and a truly like this mindset of there's not going to be enough, and if I'm not working hard, and that's something I'm still working to deprogram, because as we grow and scale the business, like I should be shifting my role, and that is harder than I thought it would
Hmm.
be. It's what I
Mm-hmm.
want, is to shift my role into more strategy and business development and people management. But it's more comfortable to just grind it out and do the work and
Of
go in,
course, yeah.
because that's what I know and that feels safe. And stepping away from that is scarier. But during that time, so it was digging into those limiting beliefs of like, and I still actually have that document because I still have limiting beliefs. They're just different now than they were a year and a half ago, 2 years
Yeah.
ago. And I tried it, and it's like, what was the belief I had? What was the fear based story I was telling myself? Why did I have that fear based story? And what was my new belief? And now I was recently with my coach, we went back and we looked at them and some of them, and I was almost like chuckling at some of them because I was like, I can't believe I believed that. But believe me, I believed it. I read those things every single day to convince myself that they were not true. And then the other thing that I did was I reconnected with God. I didn't grow up as like a very spiritual person. I went to church, but it didn't hold a meaning to me. I didn't believe anymore. I didn't believe in whatever this power of the universe, energy. I mean, and there's going to be some people this resonates with listening to this, and there's some people that won't, and that's okay. But for me, it was reconnecting with like a higher power. Maybe that's just love. Maybe that's just myself. I don't know what that higher power is, but I was journaling on a daily basis to God to just reconnect and like, I'm scared. I'm nervous. What do I do? Show me the path. Show me the way. Let me like I'm surrendering to you. And then things just started to kind of unravel and to unfold. And so it was a little bit of a surrender, which I'm still working on. There's still more surrender to do. But it was to surrender to a higher being, higher thing, energy, whatever you want to call it. And then just like reprogramming my brain in a way to know I'm not limited. I can truly be just like any other entrepreneur out there. Why can't I be successful? And I used to walk around being like, well, I'm never going to be the person that has X, Y, or Z that does this. And now the envy and the jealousy that I used to have is gone, because I'm like, well, the world is mine to have. Versus before,
Mm.
well, I'm never going to be the person that has the beach house or has the this or that. And believe me, I don't have the beach house or all the things. But nonetheless, I feel like they're in my power. If I want a beach house, I think I could get one eventually, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I could. But that is just truly a reprogramming of like not being envious or jealous of somebody else, and that is like such a fundamental shift inside of me that, oh my gosh, thank God. Because living like that with those fear-based emotions is draining and debilitating.
Yeah. And it's self-fulfilling, because I know that in my own experience, I've also had a lot of fear. I've had a lot of jealousy and envy around people. Oh, they're showing up big in the world, right? Even doing this for me is honestly, it's like very uncomfortable. 3 months ago, I could have never imagined doing this. But when you were traveling through the world with those jealousy and envy based frames, like people pick up on
Yeah,
it.
and I'll be honest, even a couple months ago, and even a little bit right now, I don't think I don't live in scarcity anymore. I really don't. I truly believe there is more than enough. The world is an abundant place, and abundance is many different things. It's love, it's connection. It might be dollars, but it's so much more than just dollars. It's so many other things. But a couple months ago, I really hit like a scarcity, a little bit of a mini fear spiral.
Mm,
And I was like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm moving on steps forward. Now I'm taking a step back. What's going on? And, yeah, it's like, but now I can recognize it, now I can recognize it. And I'm like, let's get the journal out, let's start just identifying these feelings. And, it was easier to get through that little mini spiral than in the past when I couldn't see it for what it is. Even today, like to be vulnerable to share, right? Like it's like we've been going 150% over here at Aligned, all of us, and it's a little quieter right now. People are a little quieter. You guys are a little less. And like, I would love to just be like, great, cool. I'm going to just like go outside and take 2 hours.
yeah.
I'm not doing that. That makes me really uncomfortable still. And so I want to get to the point where like I just truly believe that like the universe is giving me a time of calm and peace because it has been a really intense 6 to 12 months or really 2 years. And it's like it's May and my kids are getting out of school in 20 days and there's activities and there's games and the universe wants me to be present for that. And that is, I'm grappling with that though. That is, I believe that's the message. It's like, you need to slow down. I'm going to show you that you can do it. You need to learn to slow down because it's much more comfortable for me to go 150% all the time. I'm exhausted and wake up and do it again. That feels comfortable. It feels uncomfortable. Like, no, I can actually go enjoy the fruits of my labor and enjoy the time with my kids and be present. And so I think that's a lesson that the universe is testing me on, but it's uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. And it's crazy that I think so many of us are conditioned to feel more comfort in the discomfort, in the depletion, than in the ease and in the abundance. I don't know where it came from, but this is the world that we're in. As you have been stepping into your entrepreneurship over these past 3-4 years, I'd be curious, what's been feeling really exciting and liberating as like a new identity that you're stepping into?
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I think I am stepping in finally to this like this leadership role, right? Like I was the captain of every sport I ever played on. I played Division 1 lacrosse at William and Mary. I wasn't the best player. I was definitely not the best player. So I think for a lot of years though that like I'm a coach, I'm a leader, like big law is going to stifle that out of you real quick. Like you go into big law and think you're a leader and you're a first year associate. Like I didn't walk in there with any cavalier attitude. I graduated in 2010. They were paying me low six figures and I would have mopped the floors. I would have cleaned the toilets and mopped the floors. Like I was thankful to have a job because in 2010 it was hard to find a job.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I went in there just excited and perky and happy. And I had done some consulting work before. So I had a little bit of like, I'd worked in an environment and I was just, I'm here to do this thing, big law or bust. And they will stifle that out of you like so quickly. And so, and then, a couple of years after that, you get married and then I start having children. And so there was a decade, my 30 to 40, like I don't like remember it. Like I feel like I just lost that decade. It's like there, but it was just like a churn. It was like, well, I got to make partner. I got to do this. I got to have kids. I got to have another kid. I got to have another kid. Like, I got to do the other thing. I got to do because then I'm going to be happy. Because then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do that. And this is like, what the hell just happened? And like, let's just check back in on like what really brings happiness, right? Like that's part of the journey now. And I feel like I don't remember where we started on this question.
Oh, just of identities that are exciting, like liberating to step into.
Okay. That's right. So I think it's like being able to be a leader, being able to be in control of something. And then, my greatest passion, like or greatest identity is like someone who inspires others, right? Like there's a couple of different women who have like truly said to me, like, I started my own business because of that lunch we had, and like, that's pretty amazing. And like, I don't need them to start $100 million company, but the fact that they were willing to bet on themselves because I was able to tell them that like, you can do this, like, don't be afraid of this. Like, That's pretty incredible. So I would say that, and like that is making me step into like I think who I really am is like a powerful, competent leader. I do think I'm a great business owner and a business leader. But it's not something I would have ever thought 5 years ago to think I would have run a business that had a team of 15 would be a joke. I'd be
Yeah,
like, that's
Laurice 5 years ago would not have believed you.
nothing.
So on the point of inspiring others, I want to talk a little bit more about aligned health law. And one of the things that in your press release was how much emphasis that you put on practicing with principle. And it's funny because, as lawyers, you always think, oh no, we're principled, right? We're going to take the principle of the law and we're going to apply it. But then as we talked about from our experience working with some less than kind big law attorneys, those principles don't always show up in how we show up for each other. So I know that some of your principles at AHL are things like humility and gratitude. And I'd just be curious if you could provide us with like a real world example of how does that actually show up? What does it look like to walk the talk of those values?
I can give you an example.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So a couple of weeks back, we got engaged by a client. Took like a minor retainer, not very much, and the scope of work was pretty significant. And the model had some risk. We did the work, and we had a call, and you could tell the client was getting frustrated, which is like very uncommon. And I just went off one on one with one of the principals. I said, "Would you like to get off one on one on this? Like, I want to make sure you understand. Like, this risk, I agree if you want to assume that risk, but this is another risk you might want to consider, like I do." And just never no response. And so then we were billing our April billing cycle, and we sent our bill out. And I had already heavily marked down our time because I was like, these are two people starting a business, but like they got a 12-page memo on law in 3 different states. It's not insignificant.
No, that's a lot of work. Yeah.
And this person sent me an email, all caps, basically yelling at me saying, "I am so frustrated with you. I can't believe you would do this. You spent 5 times the budget." I was like, a retainer is not a budget. You never asked for a budget. I sent you an outline of what was happening. Long story short, I decided it was best to terminate. I'm not going to tolerate anybody speaking to me like that.
Yeah.
And I just accepted the retainer basically for a fifth of what we spent on it. And I said, "Oh, we'll eat that because I don't want to engage with you." But the real risk there is like that was my partner, because the partner of mine who worked on that matter, we're on a collections-based model. So that's a lot of time that she spent. I'd already written down some of it. Now she's at risk. Now she's not going to get paid.
Wow.
And so I have decided, and I said to her, I will personally, we will run our comp formula like we normally do, but I will personally allocate the amount that you should have been paid had he paid that to you from me personally. And the reason I'm doing that is not because I feel bad for you or anything like that. It's just because I made the decision that I made the risk calculation of the firm. It was best to cut ties with that person than to get into a one-on-one or fight with somebody over who's never going to pay you the full amount.
Right. Yeah.
Fight with this guy who didn't value our services. And frankly, I wanted on the record that I terminated the relationship because I think he's someone who would sue a lawyer. And I was like, I'm not going to be sued.
Yeah.
And so but I'm like, she shouldn't have to take the brunt of that. Right. And so to me, I think that's an example of like putting somebody else over my own needs. Yeah. I mean, that's money that's going to come out of my personal pocket into hers. I don't have to do that. She didn't ask for it. But to me, I was like, no, I don't want her to not want to support some of my clients. I want her to know that I valued the work. I approved the work. And the fact that he wouldn't pay for it is a miscalculation that I made. To me, owning it, because to me, it's like, I'm here for the long term. I'm here for the long term play. I'm here for the 10 years out from now when I'm ready to step back from this and hand over the reins to the team that we've built. And so to me, that's an example of truly showing how like I value the team over myself. And I think if leading with humility is that, right? It's you are valuing everybody else over yourself because you know that you cannot do it without them. And that is truly how I feel. Like the people around me make me better and make aligned a worthwhile solution to our clients. And so that is one that is just very fresh.
There's a few things that jump out to me about that story. So first of all, yes, I think it definitely shows a lot of generosity, right? Which is not a term that you typically associate with the consumption, AKA eat what you kill model, right? Yeah. So for you to take a moment and say, hey, I'm going to behave generously with you, partner, because I value you. I value the work that you did, even if the client didn't, and we are a team. I think that that's something that really builds a sense of loyalty and hopefully will inspire others within the firm to behave generously with each other, sort of like notwithstanding the economic model, because there's economic model, right? And then there's principles of how we treat
That's
each
right.
other.
That's
And
right.
then the other thing that I think was really notable about that is that in terminating the client relationship, yes, it sounds like there's some risk out there of like, you're like, this is the type of person who'd maybe sue their lawyer and I don't want to be involved in them. But even deeper than that, you're like, I don't like how this person treats
Correct.
other people.
That's right.
And even assuming that they were willing to pay you, I imagine, I just know this from some of our other conversations, like,
Mhm.
I think that you terminate them anyway, right? And
Yep.
and that tone comes from the top, because I think that we've all been part of organizations, whether it was clients when we were at firms, customers when we were at businesses, or even other employees or executives, when leadership tolerates bad behavior from
Behavior.
someone that they deem important for whatever reason,
Okay.
that bad behavior then actually starts to define the culture of the organization that you're part of.
Well, 100%. And I mean, along the same lines, back in the fall, I actually had to terminate another very significant relationship. And this relationship that I talked about from yesterday was very minor in the grand scheme of dollars. We're talking sub $20,000, right? And I had a small retainer. So in the grand scheme, not a big deal. But the
Mm-hmm.
one that I had to end last year, I mean, you're talking multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of years of a relationship.
Wow.
And and so it's just like, no matter how far you come and how much you evolve, there's always those moments of a little bit of fear, a little bit of worry, and you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I'm like, no, my dignity, my self-respect, I was like, I could hold the line here and move forward. I think I'm just gonna cut my losses now.
Yeah.
It's hard, and it is. It's like it is really hard because Larissa 5 years ago to stand up and make the tough calls, because it's not just necessarily for me anymore, but it's for the greater good, it's for aligned, it's for the team. It's hard. It's hard. And that makes it hard to like relax at night and go out and have fun and make the time to have a drink with a friend, because I feel a responsibility for
Mm,
people that have aligned with us, who have aligned with
hmm.
Align. And they don't make me feel that way. They don't make me feel that way, but I feel that way.
Yeah.
And so, and to me, like the team is like, and maybe this is just going back to a little bit of, it is, and we haven't talked about this, but like being a mother, a working person, and a leader, but also a CEO, like there's just not a lot of people, peers that I have, right, that like can relate to what I'm dealing with. And so sometimes it can feel really lonely and hard. And so this like the team that I've built here feels like people that I like feel comfortable with, that I feel safe with. And so I just put the team above myself, because I'm like, the team is just so important to me. I feel safe with the team, and I hope the team
Mm,
feels like one. So I don't know. I think there's some deeper stuff there, but my point is just that I think it's like we have embodied it because I think it's the only way to survive and practice a high demanding profession like law, where the demands are always intense. The risk level is high. You give bad advice from a regulatory perspective, you could get sued, right? You are
yeah.
putting people at risk. And so the stakes are high, clients are demanding. I work like you with a lot of early stage clients. They move really fast. And so it's high stakes all the time. And if you don't have people backing you up and you're not willing to back them up if they make a minor error or want to take a vacation, then like you're just going to be left alone. At the end of the day, you're sitting there by yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you're taking really the long-term view, right, to building a team and building something that feels sustainable, even within this, as you were saying, really intense, high stakes, fast paced. Beyond work, what else out there makes you feel fully yourself?
This is something I've been exploring lately. You'll be shocked to hear this, but I am coaching my 7-year-old daughter. We just wrapped up in lacrosse. And so I have found that I am like in my flow out there coaching, like
Mm,
about everything else but these little 6 to 8 year olds running around with sticks in their hands. They're so cute, kindergarten and second grade. And just to see them playing a game that I didn't start playing until I was 12 years old, and like getting to show them a little value while also like giving them a hug when they're sad and tying their
mm,
and encouraging them to try again, and making them feel okay when they got hit with a ball. It is really. something so special. I enjoyed like every minute out there with her this season and these other little girls. So I'm like, these girls are gonna be so good at this game.
Mhm.
But that has been really tremendous. I would say watching, and my boys both play baseball. And man, I don't think I had an appreciation for the game of baseball till I started watching little league baseball games.
Hmm.
And now I'll tell you, if you have a son and you watch Little League Baseball, you will watch your home team and you will appreciate that game so much more. And so I am like my most happy, like being a cheerleader for them, like helping them in any way. That is really something. And then, separately, like I enjoy, like, I like to walk. I like to get outside. I like to have some downtime. I still do my journaling and I meditate every morning, or try to most days of the week. So those are things that I incorporate. I think because I'm on all day, whether I'm on camera, I'm on with the team, I'm on email communication, I'm on Teams. I think I've
Mm-hmm.
realized as I've gotten older, I need that quiet time. And so for me right now, when I'm not on for work, I'm leaning into the quiet, whether it's meditation or reading or journaling or just walking, maybe an
Yeah.
audible, but kind of being alone in those moments. And then otherwise, when I'm with the kids, like truly being with them playing sports is like 12 out of 10 my happy place.
Oh, I can tell. I can tell. You just look so happy, even talking about it, which I never would have imagined. Maybe you can write a book one day on like Zen and the art of coaching 6 to 8 year olds playing
Girls.
playing lacrosse, because it seems like at least like you are tapped into something when
Yeah.
you're doing that. And I actually imagine as you're talking about it, some of the skills that you're practicing there are probably ones that you've learned it as a leader at a firm and or that you can bring back. So it's kind of, I think that this is something where hobbies, they can enrich us so much. And even when they feel like they're so different from our day job, it seems like they invariably end up showing up and informing it in
That's
surprising ways.
That's right. I 100% agree with that, and I didn't really make that connection until a couple weeks ago. I was really thinking through it, and I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "That's why I love this so much because I'm getting to be what I am, which is like a coach, someone who encourages other people, someone who wants to see other people succeed, and it's just so fulfilling." So yeah. So thank you. It's a great question.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a rapid reflection
Hey.
round. What is a book, a teacher, or an
Hmm.
idea that changed how you see the world?
Two things. I just read Wishes Fulfilled by Wayne Dyer, which was super interesting. It was about 13-year-old, but very much about manifestation and control over your own destiny. And that was super powerful. And then led me to another book called Dying to Be Me. I think it's Anjali Marani, and it's very powerful. I'm reading that now. And
Hmm.
then my executive spiritual coach is Jessica Joins, and like she's been with me on this journey, and like I, credit her immensely. I do not think I could have done this and been an entrepreneur if it wasn't for her and kind of the things that she helped me uncover. And like she has a community of women leaders, and I sponsor that community, like not because I want anything back, but just because I believe in like paying it forward.
It's beautiful. Um, what's one thing that you used to think mattered a whole lot that it turns out just like doesn't at all?
What other people think about me?
Mm, bingo. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a hard one though. It becomes more and more subtle, right?
I would say it still matters to a degree, but it matters in a very different way. I care about my reputation from like a services perspective in the industry, but I don't care so much if I don't have, like, I could go afford and get the fancy clothes and the this and the that and hang out with everybody else in bougie Midtown Atlanta where I live. But I'm like, I'm most comfortable in sweatpants, a baseball cap, and running shoes. And just like
Mm.
that could be my attire. Like, I'm going to lean into that.
And is there a mantra or a phrase that you return to often or that you use as like a personal guiding star?
This morning it was I am enough. I'm enough was this morning. I'm a leader people want to follow is one that I have been saying kind of. But I am enough, I think, is coming up because I'm really trying to heal this, what I would call really an addiction to work, right? Like, and like it feels comfortable to be going. There's a reason that I feel like that is what I need to do. And so it's kind of trying to get to the bottom of like, I am enough. Whether I work 12 hours a day or 2 hours a day or 0 hours a day and just meditate all day, I'm still enough. And that was something that was coming up this morning.
Workaholism. I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I have it too. And this chapter's been really weird for me. It's been
Sure.
15, 16 months since I've had anything that looks like a traditional job after wearing way too many hats for way
Yeah.
too long. But something that I've come to realize, I think by bringing together my meditation practice into it, is that when we're working all the time, it's almost as if we are just inhaling over
Sure.
and over and over again without letting ourselves exhaling. And then, surprise, surprise, when you keep inhaling back to back to back, what do? You start to hyperventilate, which I think is actually the feeling that I had traveling through my days so often. So it's really great that you are building in time for that exhale, like knowing that you are someone who likes to inhale, who likes to do a whole lot and fill her cup, that you're just giving yourself some time and space to just be and let go and to surrender. I think that's really beautiful. Last question. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe quietly questioning the path that they're on, that they've been on this super high achievement, getting all the gold stars, getting all the brass rings, but now are wondering like, hey, is there something more out there? What would you tell them?
I say get quiet and listen. 6 months before I left my Big Law job, I had a moment. I had just made partner, and I remember sitting in my office. It's a nice building. It was a nice office. Looking around me and looking up at the ceiling and being like, "Is this it? Is this
Mm,
what I wanted?" And it was fleeting, and it came in and it left as soon as it happened. But I remember that moment. I remember that day. It was dark and cloudy outside. I remember where I was sitting at my computer. I remember that moment because I knew then that it couldn't be it. Like I was meant for more. But it's easy to just put that in a box and put it on a cloud and send it away. So
yeah.
if you are questioning something and there's something that's coming up for you, listen, give it space, get a journal, be quiet, meditate, go for a walk, get a coach, get a therapist, have somebody help you listen to that because the reason you don't want to listen is because you're scared.
Mm. Thank you so much, Laurice. This has been an amazing conversation, and just so grateful to be on this path with you.
Thank you, Allison. It was a pleasure to be here. I was looking forward to this all day. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Practically on Purpose with Allie Canton. If you're enjoying the show, the best way to support it is to subscribe, leave a review, or forward it to someone else who might need it. You can also follow along or reach out anytime at alliecanton.substack.com. I read every note, and it means so much more than you know. Special thanks to Mutual Benefit for the beautiful music that brings us in and out each week. You can find more of their work wherever you listen to music. And until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and stop living someone else's success story and step into your own.